Hi guys, good evening. I just wanted to come to you tonight with a message that I could not escape. I didn't plan on giving a message today, but God forced me into it. I had confirmation 3 different times that I was supposed to give this message. So here I am. And this message is called, I'm not what happened to me, I'm who God called me to be. This message is for anybody who is doubting themselves. Anybody who listened to somebody who told them they weren't worthy, they couldn't do it, they weren't good enough, they weren't going to make it. Anyone who told them that they weren't the perfect Christian. So who are they to be speaking the word? Look at all the things that happened to you. How can you speak the word? You used to be a drug addict. You used to be an alcoholic. You used to be a liar. You used to be a thief. How are you going to speak the word? Somebody molested you. Somebody raped you. You know, why do you think you're qualified to speak the word? So many times we're listening to people tell us who we are not. But God already told you who you were. Let's stop letting people disqualify us because we haven't memorized every book, every verse in the Bible, right? Let me tell you something. It says, thy word have I hid in thy heart that I might not sin against you. It didn't say thy chapter have I hid in my heart that I might not sin against you. Thy verse have I hid in my heart that I might not sin against you. The original Bible, guys, it was never written in chapter and verse. The disciples, the Pharisees, anyone who was speaking the word didn't go Ephesians 12 verse 1. Well, there's no Ephesians 12, but Ephesians 4 verse 2. You know, memorize it. That's not how it happened, guys. So we have to stop letting people make us feel like we're not good enough to speak the word. It's crazy. Let me tell you something about me. I thought I wasn't good enough. I thought, God, you can't use a wretch like me. Man, I was the worst of the worst. I failed in my marriage. And I failed in my marriage, and a lot of it was my fault, right? I had a big part in why my marriage failed. You know, man, I used to sell drugs in college. I did, guys. I sold weed in college. You know, I used to be in the clubs half naked with my breasts out, with my boobies out, dancing on all the guys. You know, man, I was molested more than once. I was raped more than once. I told more than one lie in my life. I used to use my charm, you know, and to just manipulate my way to get what I wanted because I never felt good enough. My mom abandoned me. I felt like my husband abandoned me. My father abandoned me. I was rejected and abandoned so many times, guys. I just thought that I deserved it. That's who I was. So many things in my life I was. And God said, no, that's not the case. You're not all the things that you did. You're not who you... God called you to be so much more. He called you to be so much more. Guys, God looks on the contents of the heart. Man looks on the outward appearance. And that's why I've been doing this 30-day My T-shirt ministry, because I want us to start looking on the contents of our hearts. God put treasures in our hearts, guys. He put treasures on the inside of us. The outside of us, it may very well be a gift. But the inside of us is where the treasure is. It's where the value is. I just thought I was unqualified, guys. I thought, how can I change people's lives? There's so much wrong that happened in my life. And guess what? It was my fault. It was my fault. I got in that car. I went with that guy. You know, that's my fault. These things, these bad things that happened to me, they're my fault. And now I'm unworthy. Yeah, I sold that weed. I smoked weed. I smoked all the weed, guys. God delivered me. I'm no longer who I was. God changed me. Let me tell you something. God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the call. Look in the Bible, guys. David, I always mention David because he's the only man in the Bible considered a man after God's own heart. Murderer, adulterer, all these terrible things. Yet God redeemed him, restored him, and lifted him up. God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the call. Look at Saul. He was the biggest murderer of Christians. And now then God changed him to Paul. Whoa, that was crazy. Then God changed him to Paul, guys. And he wrote half of the books of the Bible. Guys, there is redemption. There is restoration. We got to stop listening to the people who tell us we're not going to make it. We're not good enough. Who do we think we are? Because God can change your heart in a day. He can. He can. Let me tell you something. God changed completely who I was in 30 days. In 30 days, he brought me from broke down, busted, and disgusted to walking in freedom, walking in deliverance, walking in authority, walking in power, walking in victory. I am more than a conqueror in Jesus' name. He called me worthy. He called me chosen. He called me anointed and appointed. Guys, we got to stop speaking death over ourselves. We got to stop thinking that we're not good enough because we can't tell you every character in the Bible, because we can't tell you every verse in the Bible, because we didn't go to Bible college. Who told you that? If God told you that you're going to accomplish something, that you're going to be something, that you're going to be somebody, just walk in it. Have the faith. Pace yourself, but have the faith. I had disqualified myself, guys. I don't even know how I'm sitting here giving you these messages, guys, because I did not feel worthy. Every time I turn on this camera and I'm like, God, what am I going to say? He said, don't worry, just open your mouth and I'll speak through you. And you'll heal some people. You'll help some people. You'll change some people's lives. Don't worry about your degrees. Don't worry about all of that. He said, my word, it's in your heart, Echo. It's there. You're obedient. That's what I need. I need an obedient person who listens to me, who's going to speak my word, who's going to bear their burdens. Guys, I was not perfect. I drank. I smoked weed. I failed in my marriage. You know, I didn't have the greatest parents. My mother abandoned me. You guys, I was raped. I was molested. I was abused. I put myself in situations I shouldn't have been in. I lied. I stole. Guys, I am not who I was. God called me redeemed. He called me restored. He called me renewed. Guys, I have no shame. I have one of the best mentors that a girl could ask for, Crystal Brazel, and you know what she told me? Shame off you. And one day I looked in the mirror and I said, you know what? Shame off of me. What am I ashamed of? Ashamed that I had a past? Ashamed that I wasn't perfect? Ashamed that I made mistakes? But look at God. He's still using me. Guess what? If you're listening to this message, he's using me to touch you. He's using me to change you. He can do the same thing for you. I am no greater than you. I'm no greater. I'm not. We're all on the same level, guys. We're all on the same level. God can use you. He can restore you. He can change you. He can turn things around for you. And then he can start speaking through you. Okay? We just, guys, just shut them up. If they told you you weren't good enough, if God told you you were good enough, and then someone else told you you weren't, no. Shut that down. Shut it down. I don't have ears to hear that. I have ears to hear God. I have ears to hear godly correction. I have ears to hear who my God told me I was going to be. I'm not what happened to me, guys. I'm who God called me to be. You are not what happened to you. You're not that divorce. You're not that drug addiction. You're not that alcohol addiction. You're not that rape. You're not that molestation. You're not that friend who betrayed you. You're just not. You're not a liar. You're not a thief. You're not a manipulator. Guys, God has not forgotten you. It says he will never leave or forsake us. It doesn't say he'll never leave or forsake us if we're perfect. Every imperfect person in the Bible, he took their mess and he lifted them up and he used them. Why? Because the way God turned them around, they couldn't deny that it was Jesus. Y'all, if you knew me before this, you know I am not the same Echo, and I say it proudly. I say it with honor. I used to be proud. I used to be boastful. I used to put all my value and my worth in my body. Guys, I used to be so many things, but God still qualified me. He called me, and then he qualified me. And he said, don't worry, Echo. Man looks on who you were, but I'm looking on who I called you to be. And man looks on the outward appearance, but God looks on the contents of the heart. Guys, do not allow yourself to be shamed. Do not allow yourself to be guilted and to be humiliated. Let's get rid of the self-condemnation. Let's stop listening to people that say, who do you think you are? I'll tell you who I think I am. A child of God. I'm a child of God. And you can say what you want, but God already told me. He already told me who I am. There's nothing you can tell me, guys. You can't tell me. You can't even tell me who I was a week ago. My growth game is strong. You're not going to find the same Echo this week that you found last week. You're just not. Why? Because I'm working on me. Because I'm walking in Jesus, and God is not going to allow us to remain the same if we seek to be different. God will keep you if you want to be kept. I promise you this. It's not that I don't stumble. It's not that I don't fall. It's not that I don't make mistakes. It's not that I don't end up in situations where I have to cry out to God. But here's the difference. I cry out to God. I cry out to him when I need him. I cry out to him when I make a mistake. I cry out to him when my heart is hurting. I cry out to him, and he comes and he saves me from my pit. Guys, we serve the God of the mountain and the valley. We're going to go through mountains and valleys. We got to stop giving up on ourselves in the valley. God wants to give you beauty for ashes. Beauty for ashes. That's the most beautiful thing in the Bible. You're going to go through the fire. You're going to go through it. There's going to be smoke. There's going to be change. It's going to hurt. But when you come out, you're going to be purged. You're going to be different. Beauty for ashes. Embrace your trials. Embrace who you were, but do not embrace who they say you are. You do not embrace that. You embrace who God says you are. Never forget where you came from. Guys, I will always remind you where I came from. Why? Because it keeps you humble. Because you can always go back. If I don't stay focused on God, I can always go back to who I was. Right? Saul went to Paul, and he saved so many Christians. But if he stopped walking in Jesus, imagine what could have happened. Imagine if Paul stopped walking in Jesus. He could have turned right back into Saul. But God, I embrace my mistakes. I embrace my trials. I embrace my burdens. I embrace my pains. I embrace my mistakes. I've made so many, but God, he still chose me. He still called me. He still speaks through me. Why? I don't know why. But guys, I'm going to keep talking to you as long as God keeps talking to me. It's that simple. I'm not who I used to be. I'm who God called me to be. And I'm going to keep walking in that. And I pray that if you're struggling with your identity because of who you were, that you step into who God called you to be. No more unworthiness. No more shame. No more rejection. No more self-condemnation. God has a purpose and a plan for you. He had one for me. And I'm no greater than you. So that's my message for tonight. I hope it healed you. I hope it touched you. I hope it it not humbles you, but encourages you. Okay? I love you. I can't wait to talk to you all again. And, I just hope God keeps talking to me, because I'm going to keep listening. Good night. I love you.